Are you ready, pup? Let's do it. We're gonna try it a little different today. The other camera is kind of overheating, so we're gonna try it with this GoPro and this stick just to see how this works out. I don't even know if the mic's working, but hopefully. You ready, pup? I can't see nothing, but we'll hope it works. All right, here we go. 4 miles. Holly always does this. She'll be towing me right when we start. All right, we need a topic for the day. Don't really have one. So I'm gonna shoot from the hip here. And I am gonna talk maybe a little bit about technology and maybe a little bit about how I got into it. This one's probably going to be a little bland for some people. Come here, pup. Maybe not so much for others. Okay. I'm gonna start how I got into technology. So I graduated with a bachelor's in information systems, which is technically a business offshoot. At least it was part of the business school at the time, and it deals a little bit more with processes, efficiency, applications, things like that, which is a little different than what you might consider someone who's a computer science major who focuses more on programming. And the reason I went the more business route is because I actually started as an accounting major, and it was a little easier for me because of the classes to switch. And this is going to be all over the screen. Anyway, it was easier for me to switch to a business-based model and still get the technical stuff, which is what I really wanted. I kind of got a feel for technology when I was little. I had a cousin who was really good with computers very early in his youth. I remember going to visit my cousin, and at the time he was someone who I visited frequently, and for the most part he was one of my closest friends. So when we went to go visit, he'd show me all sorts of things. He's if I can remember correctly, about 4 years older than me. So he always was exposed to things a little quicker than me. Anyways, when I was young, computers weren't really a thing for your average person. He happened to have one. And I remember they had a office room in one of the bedrooms in the house, and for whatever reason his parents never let me in that room. They never wanted me to go in there. I don't know the reasoning behind it. It seemed really odd, other than maybe thought that I might break something or whatever, just, you know, being a kid. I don't think it was really focused at me per se. I just think in general they don't want people in there. So I never really saw my cousin programming, but I knew he was good at it, and he won some awards as a youth programming. And I remember he would build little games on like a Commodore. And this is a bit of a blast from the past, but he could come over to my house, and I think at some point I got a Commodore as a hand-me-down from my brother. And it was basically a word processor. Anybody not older than 40 probably has no idea what I'm even saying. Anyways, so he got me kind of engaged. With technology kind of early, and like most kids, even nowadays, I played games, and it was kind of a big focus in my childhood, although definitely not as prevalent as I think the kids today. Anyways, he gave me my first taste of technology, and from that point I kind of always found it fascinating. And then when I get into college, I started as an accounting major, and after being an accounting major for a year, I didn't quite like it, but I was still going through with it. And I don't remember if it was my first year or my second year in college, but I remember getting a personal computer at the time, and I believe it was like a compact something or other. And I bought it off my other cousin, and I used the funds from my first college loan, which at the time, college loan was like finding hidden treasure. I never knew money could be so easily available to someone with almost no backing to pay it. Anyways, kids, if you can avoid a college loan and you have other opportunities, I highly suggest you take them, because they are a pit that you might struggle to find your way out of. Some people who seriously take out some loans never get out of that. Anyway, so I buy this machine off my cousin, and I'm starting to spend my days focused on this machine and doing just random stuff. This is actually before the internet became like a prevalent thing, although it was there. I'm screwing with this thing, just doing random things, building pictures in paint or playing cards, typing, what have you. And it draws my attention enough that I'm like, I'm captivated by it, and I'm like, I'm gonna change my major. So I changed to computer science after basically having a year and a half of business classes done. And while I'm screwing with this computer, getting invested in it, I also have a serious relationship with my girlfriend at the time, now my wife. She doesn't quite appreciate the PC as much as I did, because it's taking time away from her. And in retrospect, she was justified in hating that thing, because I did spend a lot of dumb time with that thing. Anyways, so I'm screwing with this PC, doing whatever, whenever I have some time. And then my world is really blown up when I find out about this thing called the internet. So, I may be a little off on the timeline here, but this is my freshman or sophomore year in college, where I become aware that this thing existed. And like I said, this was not the internet. This was early days. Nobody knew what it was, unless you happen to be in the IT world already or had a job. This is back when AOL was kind of starting, and you had people using chat groups and some basic browsers to look around. When AOL was huge, Amazon wasn't even a thing, or just starting, and neither was YouTube or any of these other social networks. So that captivates me even more. I'm totally locked in once I get the internet. And I'm sure you can imagine why. I fully on commit to computers. My major has now changed. And this is right about the time my wife, girlfriend at the time, drops this bombshell on me. Hey, let's get married. And I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna say no, I love you, but I want to do this the right way. I got to be able to support you. I don't have a real legitimate job. I'm not done with college. I'll take the shortcut and I'll go into the Army. And guess what? They said I get to mess with computers in the Army. It's a win-win. So I go into the Army, I think finished up my second year. I'm a computer science major. I effectively quit school to go into the Army, although my future plans is to continue. So I wouldn't necessarily say I dropped out. It was just sort of a deviation. And one of the pluses was, or one of the ideas behind going in was, I knew I was gonna get that college money after. So I did the smallest enlistment possible. It was like 2 years plus all my training time. So thank you. That turned out to be like, I don't know, like 4 months and 2 years tacked onto it. How we doing, Holly? All right, we passed 2. We're at about an 8-minute pace. Anyways, I get into the Army. I find out this computer I'm gonna get to mess with. Not much of a computer at all. Anyways, it's a basically a tough, rugged machine that's used for munition guidance. And nobody really even knew how to use it. It had no real good interface. I can't even remember what that thing was called, but it was a piece of junk. Probably something the Department of Defense cooked up to make it look like we were doing something high tech, but it wasn't. Anyway, so during my time, I take out a personal loan. I spent $2,000 buying a new machine. And $2,000, man, that was a good chunk of change back then. So I start using this thing. My wife and I are in Kansas at the time. So I'm further going down the rabbit hole. But hey, I'm finding things like, hey, I can talk with my family. I can call my family using this PC. And it's not gonna cost me a dime. So I'm starting to figure out all the early stuff. I'm like an early adopter of technology. Oh yeah, and by the way, when I started up on the internet, AOL was like the only game in town. But I kind of figured out a way to use some different software to tap in to the network at the school. So I'm using that instead. And that was one of the things that I kind of got gifted on, was figure out a ways around things. I wouldn't necessarily call that hacking, but in a sense, yeah, still do that under certain circumstances still today. Pretty much legit, but always trying to find new ways of doing things. If any of you know what the word wares is, you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, look it up. I'll just leave it at that. W-A-R-E-Z. So anyway, I do my time in the Army, and while I'm there, I'm actually fixing other people's computers and even helping some of the IT stuff being done in the office on base in my unit. And then I'm also going to school part-time, taking database classes, spreadsheet classes. I actually get my associate's degree while I'm in the Army. It wasn't really about getting the associates, it was just about getting the credit so I could transfer back to the school I started at. So I do my time, I get out, I go right back into the computer science stuff, and then when I'm there, I realize, man, I'm gonna have to almost start all over again. But there's this offshoot degree called Computer Information Systems, based off of business classes, and I've already done 1.5 years, 2 years of that. I'm gonna switch over to that. So I switch over. I think I graduate 2 years later. I'm one of the first guys in my graduating class that has a job, and there must have been about 80 or so of us, and I'm like one of, like 10% of the people that have a job, and I kind of contribute that to two things: being sort of early and knowing my stuff, and also during one of my summer breaks, I actually got certified with Microsoft to become a certified engineer over summer. That was basically 6 tests, and I studied kind of on my own. So I got a job in a consulting firm, consulting for another company at the time. And right when I graduate, I tell them, hey, I just graduated, I'm looking for something full-time. Right now I'm just helping you guys through consulting. They pretty much hired me right away. I already know their systems, and I can make an immediate impact. I stayed in that job, how we doing, Ollie? About 3 years. Towards the end of that 3-year career, I got poached by another consulting firm, and I worked there based out of Sacramento for the next 11 or so years. And that place was great. The owners were great. Everything about it was good, except the occasional thing here or there. I was on salary. That kind of sucked because there were times where I was getting abused, but it kind of goes with the territory. And just little things like not having my check direct deposited, and sometimes getting my check late. And with that company, kind of started to see some writings on the wall that things weren't going so well. So I started applying around. Oh, gotta take a break here. Applied to a large winery. This winery is pretty prevalent in my area. It's one of the biggest companies in the area. Internationally known. And one of the reasons I actually wanted to work there is because my dad works there. He wasn't working there at the time, but I already knew of the place. Anyways, I get hired, and that's where I am today. So I've been in technology basically my entire post-high school years, intensively. One of the weirdest things about today is that I remember when I got hired, IT was like one of those jobs that they say you should go into technology. There will never be a time where your job is not needed. And here we are. Let me see here. I'm 30 years into it, basically. And that's no longer the case. How we doing, Holly? She's slowing down. We're at 3 miles 54. Anyways, if you're paying any attention to the world around you, you know AI is a big thing. And while I have embraced AI, I definitely think it has its shortcomings. And I think the biggest one, at least this juncture, is the ramifications to real life people, real life jobs. I've seen this firsthand through my own work and industry trends. Where I work, they embrace it. And thank goodness I'm not technically adverse. I love messing with new things and learning new things. But it has become so prevalent, even at a winery, which you would just think, oh, that's kind of odd. But it's not. I have programmed things and built things with AI that would have taken me months, if not years, in days. It's pretty incredible in that sense.
But the flip side, how much work did I displace by doing that myself? Gotta make you think. So, at this point, technology is kind of a double-edged sword. And if you're trying to break in, you better know AI and learn more than just your bread and butter technical skills, because you're gonna need them. I was pushing my son in computer science. That's what he started as. He was very good at it. In the previous video I mentioned he had 3 years done. And in that 3 years time, my opinion on the degree path has somewhat changed because of all of these issues with jobs and technology and how far we've come. So, take a little bit of wisdom, think about what you're doing if you're in the technology space, and even if you're not, honestly, you better get accustomed to using AI where you can, whether that be Copilot, ChatGPT, even Google nowadays. A lot of the search results are coming from compiled search results, and you're gonna see an AI response. Anyways, technology is great. Use it wisely, but also be aware and cognizant of it, and maybe have a backup plan if you can. See this video? This might be my backup plan. Anyway, that's it for today, folks. 4 miles, 31:52. That's Holly. I'm Paul. Hopefully this video wasn't too shaky. I'll try it again another time.